Oy. Ugh. Ugh. Hey guys, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports, and to part 2 of March of the Worst Films of 2014. And today, we're going to take a look at a certain sci-fi thriller that my dad took me to see in theaters last year, which he and several others enjoyed, while I got deeply traumatized from it, because it includes the very thing that frightens me the most: medical operations and the use of illegal drugs. But on the other hand, it's about something kind of interesting. It mostly concepts on the 10% of brain myth. Released in America on July 25th, 2014, the movie is Lucy. Let's get this movie over with already. The American Lucy is studying in Taiwan and is dating Richard, that she met at a nightclub. When Richard has a briefcase to deliver to the mysterious Korean Mr. Jiang, he tricks Lucy and cuffs her to the briefcase. Kind of similar to what I've gone through. She has no option but to meet Mr. Jiang, who is a dangerous drug lord that kills Richard. Lucy discovers that the briefcase contains the synthetic drug known as CPH4, and she is forced to work to Mr. Jiang as a drug mule with 3 other men and transport the drug to Europe hidden in their abdomens. However, one of their captors kicks her in the abdomen and releases the CPH4 in her body. Soon, Lucy enhances her brain capacity and develops her physical and mental compatibilities. She uses her abilities to kill the criminals and flees. However, her power does not stop increasing and is destroying Lucy, that needs to use more CPH4 to stabilize her body. She contacts Professor Norman, who is an authority in brain capacity, and the scientist becomes her hope to save her. But Mr. Jiang wants to retrieve his drug and is hunting Lucy down. So, my thoughts? Oy, this movie is complete nightmare fuel, and in my eyes, it's really bad. Ugh. But let's go to my Mustang notes before my head starts to hurt even more. Luc Besson, the man who worked on the awful Arthur and the Invisibles trilogy, stated that he intended for the first part of Lucy to be like Leon the Professional, which he also wrote and directed. The second part to be like Inception, and the third part to be like 2001: A Space Odyssey. He was intrigued by the brain capacity of Lucy, a female woman, stating that her brain size was only 400 grams, and a modern human brain weighed in around 1.4 kilograms. Besson was interested with all the science, and he also said that when he learned one cell can send 1,000 messages per cell per second, and we have 100 billion cells in our body, for him, it's gigantic. He did not want to make a documentary about the brain, though. And so he focused on making an entertaining film with scientific and ethical aspects, which he cited as quite rare today. He said that was his goal, an actual film with a purpose. When he was younger, the purpose he had was smaller. Basically, it was about us, our legacy, what we learn. A computer-animated version of Lucy being in this film, modeled on the Dawn of Man sequence from 2001: A Space Odyssey, is one of several Lucy homages. And now, Lucy is the second largest budget French film production in 2013, with an estimate of 49 million euros. It is also one of the biggest productions for Europa, the studio who gave us A Monster in Paris, and also the company founded by Luc Besson in 2000. According to Europa Corp CEO Christophe Lambert, this film had the highest budget in the company's history. Principal photography started in September 2013 at the Cité du Cinéma, a new mega studio located on the outskirts of Paris. On September 5th, 2013, scenes were shot at the cliffs in northern France. Filming in Taipei, Taiwan, began in October 21st, 2013, and lasted for 11 days. One of the locations filmed in Taipei 101, one of the world's largest skyscrapers. Select footage was filmed with IMAX cameras. On October 23rd, The Hollywood Reporter stated that Besson had become enraged by all the media attention the shoot was getting that day. Besson was reported to be so frustrated with the constant disruptions that he considered leaving Taipei to film elsewhere. Meeting reporters in Taipei a day after he finished shooting the Taiwan part of the film, he stated, "We don't have pictures with new dresses of Scarlett. Sometimes I lost a bit of concentration because I'm bothered by that, because of constant paparazzi intrusions." He said that shooting at nighttime was a nightmare. Besson singled out 2 unnamed agencies from Hong Kong for special condemnation. News reports emerged that he wanted to leave Taiwan early to register his disapproval of their actions, but Besson labeled these as incorrect. Now, also, Lucy has the most visual effects in the film, directed by Besson, with over 1,000 effects shots under senior visual effects supervisor Nicholas Brooks. The majority of visual effects were done by... What? Industrial Light and Magic again? Man. Anyway, with a team headed by supervisor Richard Bluff, described Lucy as really fun because it wasn't 1,000 shots of robots or things we typically do, instead relying on short sequences that required a lot of new ways to problem solve and to visualize them. ILM began to work on the project in July 2013 based on concept art provided by Besson's Europa Corp, such as Lucy sprouting the black tendrils of Lucy's disintegration effects. Among the material ILM studied as references for the effects were chemical reactions, laser lighting displays seen at raves, and the work of artist Perry Hall, who had previously worked with Brooks in What Dreams May Come. Another majority contributor was Rodeo FX. It was responsible for the Paris chase scenes, the Taipei Mete paintings, and the visual representation of cell phones, radio waves seen by Lucy's enhanced vision. Now, in my opinion, some of the visuals in the film do look interesting, like the shots of certain animals, and also overviews of cities and time lapses. They almost look like something you'd see in a science-related documentary. But mostly, there are some scary scenes as well, like some involving shots that take place inside the human brain or the body. There's also blood in the film, which causes me to hide my face in fear. There's also gunfights, and there's abuse that happens to Lucy, and there's also Lucy's drug operation, which really doesn't make me feel very comfortable. But on the other hand, it does almost make me think of something similar that happened to me, but it wasn't as traumatizing as this. You see, most of my life, the only drugs I've been taking were the ones prescribed by my doctors, which is good, and I would never take any drugs that were illegal. And several years ago, before my leg was operated, some doctors at UCLA helped me improve my autism by inserting a drug through an IV into my arm for nearly 12 hours once a week. Well, in January of that time. And my family believes that I've been improving ever since. Plus, while the concept of the brain is interesting, the story feels kind of rushed. But now it's time to talk about the characters, as if it'll improve my opinion. Kinda. Now, the title character, Lucy, is played by Scarlett Johansson, who I remember several years ago played Princess Mindy from the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. And next year, she's going to voice in Disney's live-action remake of The Jungle Book as this hypnotic snake here. Seems like Sterling Holloway and Jim Cummings are going to have some competition. Now, Lucy is a drug mule who is accidentally dosed with a CPH4 drug that activates a mid-rate of pre-encoded genetic conscious capabilities. Now, the role of Lucy was called for an actress who could be believable as extremely vulnerable, as well as superpowered when her exposure is an illicit substance. Inadvertently makes her acquire incredible skills. Impressed with Johansson's discipline, Besson reached out for the role, stating that she was immediately precise and professional, and he enjoyed the way she talked about the movie. He said that she was excited for the right reason, which was the story. At the moment, it was a done deal for her, but she was definitely the one for her. Angelina Jolie was widely reported to be originally cast as Lucy, but she dropped out of the role prior to filming. Although Jolie was in serious talks with Besson since 2011 to star in his next directorial effort, then untitled, he stated that she was not his first choice for the role of Lucy, and has implied that Johansson was once she won that role. As for what I thought of Lucy, well, she starts out as your normal girl who's in her 20s. Kind of like me, in a way. She's 25, I'm 24, but after she's been dosed, she becomes an emotionless girl with supernatural powers that come from her brain. Not only does she have the power of telekinesis, which is the ability to move things with your mind, but she also becomes highly intelligent, and she can translate different languages. She's even had the ability to change her hairstyle for disguises on a plane, and also her character is a tad similar to certain other characters with her abilities, like Tamara, which was the first horror film I've ever seen, and also Stephen King's Carrie. Not to mention, she's kind of like Sabrina. And no, I'm not talking about my sister. I mean this Sabrina. And trust me, Lucy becomes someone whom you don't want to mess with. Next we have Professor Samuel Norman, played by Morgan Freeman, who's been in films like Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy, along with Deep Impact and the Dolphin Tale films. Besson's wife and producer of the film, Virginie Sela, stated that given Freeman's experience portraying a character with wisdom, it was pretty obvious that he was the perfect actor for the role of Professor Norman. And while that may be true, like, he pretty much uses that same wise personality in all of his films. Norman is an interesting character too, kind of. I mean, when we first see him, he starts out as a college science professor, teaching several people about the brain and what could happen if it expanded. Then, halfway through the film, Lucy contacts Norman through his phone and on his TV, after she quickly reads through his research on her computer. He does also help her when she arrives at his university in Paris. Now, while he does serve as information on the concept of the brain, he doesn't have that much development or interaction with Lucy whatsoever. Next is Mr. Jiang, the villain of the film, played by Choi Min-sik. I think that's how it's pronounced. And I never heard of him. Besson stated that Mr. Jiang is the best villain he scripted since Gary Oldman's character Norman Stansfield, adding that whereas Lucy is the ultimate intelligence, Mr. Jiang is the ultimate devil. Besson and his film team had to go and meet with Choi in Korea and talk with him and discuss the story, and it was only at the very end that he said, "Okay, I want to be in it." Now, this guy is a complete baddie, but he's a tad forgettable at times too. I mean, there are a few reasons why I don't really like this guy. I mean, he never speaks a single word of English at all throughout this film, but in the first few scenes that he does appear in, he does have some translators. And also, his goons kill Lucy's boyfriend, and they dose her. And also, they dose 3 other men with the CPH-4, and he's crazily violent. And also, like, drug dealers are not friends of mine in a way. But I do like it when Lucy stabs 2 knives into his hands. Lastly, we have Captain Pierre Del Rio, a French cop played by Amir Waked, or whatever his name is pronounced. Besson stated that Del Rio represents the audience. He's basically you and me, adding that when Lucy has lost all her emotions by being exposed to the drug, there exists a tiny spark of emotion that's still there. When she is with Del Rio, Wake said that Besson, having written the script, was enough for him to want to star in that film. Now, like Norman, this guy doesn't get that much character development either, but he does support Lucy by catching the 3 men who Jiang dispatched to in places like Berlin, Paris, and Rome. He also serves as defense for Lucy when she goes to Norman's university to expand her brain to 100%. Now it's time to move on to my final words of this movie. Overall, Lucy is okay, but it's still bad to me. The story's a bit rushed, most of the characters get little to no development, a few scenes are nightmare fuel, and other scenes are packed with too much violence, gunplay, and sexuality. But on the bright side, the concept of the brain is interesting, and a few visual effects are nice, but most of the movie is just too traumatizing for me to even talk about it even further. And so, I give it a low score of 40%, and I cannot recommend younger people watching this due to its R rating. Well, that's it for tonight. Be sure to join me next time, for I will tell you what I think what the absolute worst film of 2014 will be. Mustang Power.
As I look at the ground, I look at the sky, I ask how come, just gotta know why. So much to learn, so much to find, reading about science is blowing my mind. Science and the study of animal kind. Psychology, a science all about the human mind. Biology, science that deals with everything alive. Ecology, environmental science, how we all survive.